We'll begin this session with a prayer, if you'll bow with me. Our most gracious and loving Heavenly Father, we're so thankful to be here tonight to discuss the business of this city. We pray your many blessings on our city. We pray that you keep us safe and secure. We pray that you would help us tonight to deliberate these issues and come up with a fair solution. We pray that you would be with our first responders, the firefighters, the police officers, the EMTs, and others who serve us so well. We ask you to bless them with safety and bless their families. We ask you to bless this great country of ours and keep us safe and secure. We ask this prayer in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen.
Adam, are there any changes to the agenda tonight?
I don't have any changes, no.
I would like to propose a different plan for tonight, seeing how there will be a lot of people wanting to speak on several of the topics. As a general rule, we'll have everybody come down and state their business, which is fine, but I would propose that we have each agenda item tonight, like item number 4. Those who wish to speak on item number 4 will come down and speak on that. We will discuss item number 4 and then go to item number 5 afterwards and have people come down for that item to speak. I think this will move the business along a little bit better and allow people to leave early if they want to after their agenda item is settled. So if that suits the board, I would like to have a motion and we'll put it to a vote.
So moved.
Mayor Tenen moves to approve this. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Barnesfield. All those in favor say aye. Aye. So we'll do that tonight. Thank you very much. What was that? Yeah. If you would please also remember to silence your phones. I've done that myself. Has everybody had a chance to look at the meeting minutes from September of this year? And is there any changes that need to be made? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve the minutes as written?
Make a motion to approve.
Who's that? Mr. Barnesfield moves for approval. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Parnell. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries. We'll go to item number 4 now. In Dry Creek Commons Performance Bond Extension. Adam?
All right. We'll just make sure no one wanted to speak on this one right quick.
Does anybody needs to speak on item number 4?
All right. This is a bond.
Okay. This is for, okay, you know which item we're talking about?
Am I up too early?
Yeah, I think you're for number 5. We'll be with you in just a second.
All right, the request here is a bond extension. Dry Creek's Commons Phase 2, they're about 59% of the units complete. You can see the photos here. Since last year, they have cleaned some of their amenity areas and they've completed more units. The current bond is $175,000. They're estimating their remaining improvements about $90,000. They've discussed a possible reduction of the bond from $175 to $125. It will be a 1-year extension of a bond, but the request was possibly to reduce it. They've been progressing with this project, so. Like I said, a $90,000 cost estimate. Our motion options would be approval for 1-year extension of the current amount, $170,500, or approval for 1-year bond reduction and extension at $125 would be my recommendation, or 3, approval for another bond amount that's determined by the Planning Commission. So.
And what is your recommendation if we were to reduce it?
To reduce it based on the work they've completed.
Okay. And do you have, is that the 125,000?
Yes.
Okay, I got you. Okay. Any questions or comments from the board? If not, you see the options. Do I have approval for one of those three options?
So I'll make a motion to do option 2.
Mayor Tenon moves to approve number 2 to reduce it to 125,000. Second by Mr. Parnell. Any other comments? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Now we're ready for number 5. And anybody that wants to speak on item number 5 can come up and speak after Mr. Garrett.
Thank you. Keep this short. I know you all have a lot on the agenda. Glenn Garrett, I live at 107 Roanoke Drive. The only thing I would say here, last meeting, we looked at the redesign. I know George proposed adding the dormer on the 1-story. I've talked to several neighbors, talked to some of you all. We're comfortable with that. We think actually aesthetically it looks better. But what I would also ask is that this board stick to the numbers that you all have already approved previously of the number of 1- and 2-story. I guess our hope is that when we leave tonight, we are as clear as we can be about what is approved and what is not approved before we go any further on this. So thank you all very much. Appreciate what you do.
Item number 5, Pine Ridge requests recommendation of the City Commission to amend the 1- and 2-story townhouse unit ratio master plan requirements. Project includes 117 townhomes, units, and commercial outparcel frontage on 20.32 acres on South Dickerson Road. Adam? Okay.
I'm Dawn Milanovich. I live at 103 Roanoke Drive, and I'm right next to Glenn. I think my concern is that I'm not sure what they're proposing as far as 1-story or 2-story, but it seems like to me that what they're proposing is that they have the leeway to do all 2-story. One of my concerns is that, are they going to expand the parking space for that? Is it still going to be one garage, even though, which is the current plan, I think, but if they add an additional bedroom, where are those people going to park? And then I also have another concern, which doesn't have anything to do with the actual building, but since they've come out and cleared that land and I think encroached upon the easement that's in place, when it rains, I have a swamp along my property line, which is just adjacent to this property. And also, I think in several meetings ago, months ago, we talked about a landscape plan to rectify the encroachment of the easement. Haven't seen anything else about that. I don't know if that's to come later after all the buildings approved, but I'm just, and I share with Glenn's concern, I just would like to know what's going on with this property and when we can have some kind of answers as to what our backyards are going to look like. So.
Thank you. Now, I should have done this before. Is there anybody else wishing to speak on this item number 5? Seeing none, no, sir. We'll wait until after Adam speaks, then you can have the floor. Adam?
All right, just give everybody a little reminder where we're at. This is the project approval, 117 units, got commercial on the front. So it was originally the Planning Commission and the City Commission. The City Commission ultimately cited a maximum of 60% 2-story and 40% 1-story units. As you can see here, the plans, they show what was originally approved, what the revisions are. The ones on the bottom were the plans the Planning Commission originally approved, the architectural plans. You can see really similar. They've added the dormers on the front. On the back, there's some change. The Planning Commission originally required the brick base all the way to the windowsill. They've shown on the updated plans. You're showing some dormers here on the revised, and they've changed kind of the roof lines here versus the original one. And on the side, you can kind of see a difference in the roof lines. And I'll let George explain these since they're proposals. So, like, what the proposal is tonight is to amend that, recommend the city commission to amend the number of 1 and 2 story counts. I guess the real question for the planning commission to feel like the changes are significant as shown on the plans to really go against what was originally approved. Question, I know Mr. Parnell asked me about the parking. I know that's something that also to quiz him about. So that's really for the planning commission for you tonight. Recommendation to the city commission. Is the proposal, the changes shown, do we feel like it's restoring the original intent of the project? Our options would be recommend the city commission to approve the request to permit all units be either 1 or 2 story per the applicant's request. Be my recommendation on that. Due to, I feel like it's a limited change in the architectural building designs from what was originally approved. Or 2, we could recommend the city commission to deny the request and maintain the requirement for limitations on the number of 1 and 2 story units. Or 3, defer the request to include additional information as determined by the planning commission tonight. So I'll let George.
Okay,
Do
you
it,
want to come to the podium now? Please give us your name.
Good evening. My name is George Grunler with Hidden Valley Homes as the applicant. I know sometimes the screen is tough to see as far as it gets blurry and things like that. I do have copies, if anybody would like to have individual copies to be able to read off of for both the commission and also for the audience as well. Would you
The
like
planning
to
commissioners have copies, but
say again?
planning commissioners have the copies, yeah.
Okay. I know sometimes they're a little blurry, so would anybody else like a copy? Yes, ma'am. Thank you. What you have before you, Adam, if you could go back, one thing I would just note, that's a concept that, this is not the approved concept. This was quite some time ago from the standpoint of Planning Commission and working with the Planning Commission several years ago. This is not the final approved design. So I'll just note that the homes to the south here, those were completely eliminated. And so while similar in genre, this is quite different than what was actually approved. So for anybody seeing this for the first time, this is not the approved plan that Planning and City Commission did approve. In regards to the exterior architecture, if you could go to the side elevation is probably the most important and impactful. What we've done from the standpoint of marketability and also usability of the homes of the future residents, we've increased the square footage of the homes by adding a second level to the in units and also one of the interior units. So what this has provided us the opportunity to do is it's provided us the opportunity to increase the exterior architecture. Again, this point, roof line and so forth is very similar. The peak of the ridge from what was previously approved, as you can see from both ends, does not deviate above the approved set of plans. So therefore, from the standpoint, I know Mr. Garrett had mentioned last month about the overall impact to sightline and things like that. Nothing from that standpoint will significantly deviate from the peak of the ridge of the approved homes versus this revision. This bump up that you see here, this is all inboard of the plan. Inboard of the plan and does not impact the overall height of the homes on the site. Does that make sense to everybody? The additional impact that we've had from an architectural standpoint is increase the architectural aesthetic of both the windows on both ends of the homes compared to, again, the lower section here. This is what was approved previously by this commission and also City Council as well. And also we converted and changed the brick from the original approved siding here to a full brick elevation to, again, improve the overall aesthetic of the homes, as well as the value to the neighbors inside the community, but also in the surrounding community as well. As it relates to parking, I know the question had been asked about parking. We're still far below the total allowable parking computation. We do not view the standpoint of adding the second floor and adding the bedroom that's going to create additional parking needs or create additional occupants, future residents in the homes that are going to be of driving age. This is strictly an opportunity to have a more usable, functional floor plan for our future residents and the future clients that we build for. I would say, from the standpoint, we are far below the parking computation. I know the lady, I'm sorry, I forgot your name. She had mentioned about the 50-foot buffer area. To my knowledge, and we had our engineers come out and reference, that area has not been impacted. If there's a specific area, I'm happy to meet with you and also address any runoff that might have been created by the clearing that we did last year in order to fully survey the site and so forth. But at this time, we would request the opportunity to remove or mitigate tremendously the encumbrance of the 40% one level. Keep in mind, this site was originally approved by this body for 132 homes. We're more than 10% below that number at this point with the approved plan of 117 homes. And we would just request the ability to build a better, more marketable, and more usable home for not only the folks that will be living here in this neighborhood, but also have a more positive impact to the surrounding community and surrounding neighborhood as well. I'm happy to answer any questions as it relates to the architecture, as it relates to the parking computations, or any other aspects of this neighborhood.
I'll leave it, turn it over to the board for any questions for Adam or whoever. I do have one question.
Yes, sir.
The houses that border this property, which view will they be looking at?
Adam, if you could go back to the overall site plan. Again, it's just for visual. This is not the approved. This is not the approved plan, but it is similar in concept. And so Adam's correct with the highlighter there that the in units, so to speak, on the north side drive, those would be the only homes that will be seen from the adjacent homes here. And again, keep in mind this elevation, the elevation of these homes is significantly higher, right? Is significantly higher once the site work is completed and so forth. So I can't say, you know, to what extent, but I do know with the preservation of the buffer, the lady had asked about a landscaping plan. Once this is finalized, we will submit a final landscaping plan for approval to Planning Commission and to City Council as well, which will address and make sure that there is this 50-foot densely planted visual buffer to the north side, preserving that area. And again, keep in mind, of the 117 homes, right, really only these 10, the 10 to 12 in units here along the north side driveway would even be visible from the adjacent property. So yes, ma'am. Yep. So what I would say is, for example, predominantly, yes. So predominantly from your property or the adjacent properties to the north, you would predominantly see the ends of this architecture resemble this or resemble this. Keeping in mind, this is not shown with any landscaping whatsoever, and so there will be landscaping on the individual homes as well. And so, you know, probably only about the upper third of these will even be remotely visible from your adjacent property as well, because of not only the change in elevation, but also with the buffer there that's going to be planted and so forth.
Any questions from the board?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
My only question, so I wasn't on the board when this was approved, so.
Yes, sir.
Just to make that clear, but I don't want to put words in your mouth, so the original plan, did it show those sides brick, or what was the material
No,
there?
no, sir, it did not. What you see here, again, sorry, my pointer's dying. This up only to the top plate right here. Below the top plate was shown with brick. Above that area is siding.
Okay.
Above that area was siding, as approved. And now we've taken the brick all the way up to the peak of the gable. We just felt like from an architectural aesthetic and also, you know, with the way that truss was designed and so forth as well, that'll provide a better architectural aesthetic and functional architecture as well.
Okay, so I guess my question is if it was not approved, and you made the comment being concerned to how it appears to the neighbors that are looking at it, would you still be willing to do that to the sides with a brick, or would you want to keep it with all the siding?
You know, it's something that you know, right now we want to be able to deliver a home that has more square footage. So the square footage becomes a primary driver of the motivation for the request, right? So the request is born out of, and again, you have the original approved first floor and second floor plans in your packet as well. So we feel, and the market's telling us from the standpoint of the market-driven, and also when we think about having a more age-targeted home, like we discussed last time, that they don't just want a redux in square footage. You know, they want to have a study area or a potential home office. They also want to have additional bedrooms for children or grandchildren to come visit. And it just provides that additional flexibility in the home as well.
Okay.
So I don't know the answer to your question, Mr. Gilmore, at this time until I received your answer in regards to the request that we have before you.
Okay, thank you.
But again, we want to build, I'll just elaborate, you know, we plan to and intend to build a great aesthetic neighborhood. We just feel like these exterior additions go hand in glove with the opportunity to expand the square footage as well.
So the reason for the request versus how the master plan was approved originally is to just add square footage?
It is, the flexibility to have, and again, we may have.
I guess, I don't mean to interrupt you.
Yes, sir.
I guess the purpose in that is because originally, so is it the market telling you that you need to do this, or you guys have, your firm has just decided this is going to be better for us to do it this way now than how the master plan was approved?
The market's told us that the one-level home is less desirable and also would depreciate the overall neighborhood from the standpoint of the market price of the square footage for a one-level home. So in addition to that, we do feel like having the flexibility, and it doesn't have to be a full removal. I mean, it's a consideration and discussion. We don't have to have, if this committee feels like there's some value, I'm open to discussing the opinion and the option to, you know, maintain a percentage, hopefully closer to 10% of the homes being one level, as opposed to the seemingly arbitrary number that was developed before of the 40%.
Anyone else have questions or comments? Give us just a minute.
Yes, sir, of course.
Mr. Chairman, while y'all are thinking, you might remind me, what is the square footage of the units?
I'll have to look it up.
Okay. Because what I'm really trying to discern is what are they today, and if you did this second level, what would it take it to?
It's adding about 400 square feet. So as approved, we were right at about 1,400 square feet, and the revision or the addition of the second floor takes us to about 1956.
Any questions or comments? Mr. McNeil?
What is the fire separation between the units?
The fire separation, sir, is driven by the Tennessee Building Code. That would not change. You'd still have the 2-hour fire separation wall, regardless if it was a 1-level or 2-level home, given that that code and that property line does not change. And so you'd still have a 2-hour wall separation, firewall separation.
And the HVAC system, where are they located?
The HVAC systems would be located in an attic, regardless of 1 or 2 level.
For each apartment?
We don't consider them apartments. We consider them attached single-family homes from that standpoint. And so, yes, sir, from the standpoint of the HVAC would still be located in the attic space of the homes.
I don't think my mic is working, but this drawing right here, this is the original front elevations.
As approved, yes, sir.
Is
Yes, sir,
it-
Mr. Freeman.
Is it presented that even with these units here that were considered the 1 level, when you add the dormer with living space, the original roof line is going to remain the same? You're just adding living space in that upstairs now. They're not all going to this height, correct?
That's exactly correct, and thank you for that point and question, Mr. Freeman. What I'd like to say is that if you go to the front elevation that Mr. Freeman was demonstrating, so again, this lower plan is the plan that was approved by Planning Commission and City Council a couple years ago. What you see at the top of the page is the revision that at our request we are making. So therefore, as you can see, this home, okay, doesn't significantly change from this home. The peak of this roof line does not change. The footprint does not change, okay? The impact on the overall streetscape, square footage on the home site does not change whatsoever. The addition of this dormer provides the opportunity, as we also spoke about the additional windows on the side. That dormer provides the flexibility to have additional living space on the second level of the home. The overall width from side to side, the height from base plate to ridge does not change, has not changed. And so this is the architecture and plan that we would prefer to build because not only is it more aesthetic, but it provides the opportunity and the functionality to be able to offer our future clients the opportunity to have a second floor. And we may have flexibility. I mean, somebody might say, hey, this particular home, we only want to do the 1-level home, right? We would still, look at that and say, okay, if this body approves this, then we'll do the dormer and so forth, from that standpoint, if you feel like that's something that's important.
On the proposed revised rear elevation, you have a dormer on the back end on 1 unit. Is that for the bonus room?
Yes, Mr. True, it is. Yes, sir.
All right.
see there, that doesn't, the overall height, it doesn't impact the overall height of any of the homes from the peak of the ridge down to the base plate or the measurable area.
Mr. Chairman, I'm new to the board too. When was this originally approved or brought to the board?
The request for the revision, sir?
No, the original project.
I think the original project was approved, this architecture was approved at the end of 2021.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
And if you were to get approval, when would you start construction?
We'd expect to start construction. We've submitted and have been approved for the first phase. Our engineers working on the second phase, which we would expect to submit to Adam for approval in the next 30 days. And we'd expect to be under construction with the horizontal development in Q1 of 2026.
Adam, this does have to go back to the Board of Commission.
Yes, the
correct?
city commission did change, they specified the 60% two-story and 40% one-story.
And,
So even though the architectural's not really changing, it is still allowing more two-story units, basically.
And I appreciate you addressing the landscaping in the back and the incursion on the buffer zone, but no matter which way it goes, I would sure like for you to get with the neighbors and like
Oh,
you said
yes,
you
of
would.
course.
And
Yeah, I wasn't aware.
satisfy them. That was a big sticking point with me,
And that's
back
why
in
we did
21.
increase the overall area to the north, if you recall, Mr. True. Originally, it was only about 50% of the property, but then as a result of the approval process and discussion with this body and also city council, city commission, we did agree to extend that across the entire boundary of the north side property, and we would continue to maintain that. Our engineers tell us it hasn't been encroached. We cut right up to that line for the standpoint of the geotechnical survey and sight lines and things of that nature. If there's an area that we've encroached, then I apologize for that. We'll address that accordingly in the short term and also as a part of our landscaping plan as well. And if there's any...
In that upstairs bit.
This is the first time.
They're not all going to this height, correct?
That's exactly correct, and thank you for that point and question, Mr. Freeman. What I'd like to say is that if you go to the front elevation that Mr. Freeman was demonstrating, so again, this lower plan is the plan that was run off. Again, this is the first time I'm hearing about that. I'll give her my card this evening so that she has my contact information, and we'll follow up very soon.
I'd appreciate that.
Of course.
See, that was the only reason I voted yes the last time, is because it was going to be less.
Oh, it's an important element. Yes, sir. Totally agree.
All right. Who else would like to make a comment?
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
For either Mr. McCormick or Mr. Ellis. Question about the December 9th decision made by the City Commission and the reason for them deciding on a 60-40 split in one and two-story units. And I understand you to say you would like for that 60-40 division to be removed so that you have the option, you will have your group will have the option to do either both, not be confined to the 60-40 split.
Yes, ma'am, that is our request.
Okay, we'll be sure I have that correct.
Are you asking the basis of the 60/40? Okay, the only thing that I can really give an answer to this evening was there was a motion by Commissioner Anderson to make it a 60/40 blend. That motion was second and was approved unanimously, I believe. I can't really remember, and that's where it came from. Adam may remember more than I do, but
The original intention was to provide areas for more senior housing. That was what they felt like if they limited the number of stories, it would be geared more toward senior housing.
And if I might add, Ms. Wheeler, I do feel like that was a motivator, perhaps, from the standpoint, but if I might be critical, I believe it was a bit of a fallacy from the standpoint of understanding, from the standpoint of having a one-level home and having a primary bedroom on the main level, right? And so that's my perception. I could be wrong. I do feel like that the split was somewhat arbitrary because Planning Commission, after several months, and a lot of the folks were here during that time period as well, after several months of re-envisioning the land use plan, talking about the architecture, even out with this body, but outside of the formal Planning Commission, we even had a work session, if you recall, Mr. True, where we spent a couple hours looking at just the different aspects of the neighborhood. And, from the standpoint of being a builder-developer, being very open and mindful of hearing the concerns of the residents in the surrounding area. And again, from my standpoint, that's why it was a bit humorous to see the wrong plan put up on the board earlier, because after several months, we came to an agreement and the best use plan. And I'm not faulting Adam whatsoever. I know there's a lot of different documents out there and things of that nature. But I would go back to re-answer and elaborate on your question. And Adam, I believe, has the floor plans as well, if they're in this package. I'm not sure.
They're not on the overhead, but they're in your all's printout.
And I do have copies here and also larger copies if you'd like to take a look at them as well, that show the aspect of, as Adam had mentioned, having the opportunity to have a more age-targeted home for our surrounding residents who might have the opportunity or might need the opportunity to downsize in square footage, still provide the opportunity to have the primary bedroom on the main level, but give them flexibility for additional space. Again, it's not absolutely necessary. We would just like to have the flexibility. If we see from a market-driven standpoint that we're hearing from the clients that, hey, we like this one-level plan as is, we want to best suit the needs and meet the needs of the market for certain. But again, from the standpoint, that's why we also created that additional space, if you recall, Ms. Wheeler, to have the opportunity to have an elevator as well for future expansion.
Not right now.
Yes, ma'am. So you're not going out building 10 units? Oh, no, not, yeah. For this size neighbor.
Because I do think that there's a need in the community for seniors.
Mm-hmm.
I have a 2-level home.
Right.
Never go upstairs.
Right, right. And we want to provide that flexibility. So we want to have the flexibility to have. Generally, yes, ma'am, that's correct. Yeah. And certainly not the entire site. We'll start, 1 or 2 buildings and work through those during the construction process, have a pre-sale program. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'd appreciate if we just stay with the board right now. Who else from the board needs to speak? Mr. Parnell?
Some of the people in the room know, some don't. I was the realtor involved in the acquisition and sale of this land back in the day, and was on the board and recused myself as the process was moving forward while I was on the board, because obviously I had a financial incentive at the time. I'm no longer involved, but I have some of the history in my head. The property at the time was sold with the idea that 25% of the townhomes would be 1 story. That was the original intent of the sale, and that was conveyed to each buyer as it went through the process. I cannot remember exactly how it went down at the Board of Commissioners when it was finally approved, but I think it was approved with a 25% 1-story requirement. What happened then at City Council, I'm really not sure. For whatever reason, they decided 40% worked out better for them. And a motion was made at city council and seconded and approved. I'm personally not opposed to going back to 25%. But the original intent was always 25%. I think our approval, and Adam, I guess my understanding is we're just sending a recommendation to council. The reality is the council's the one that's going to make the final decision.
Correct, because they're the ones that made the original determination on the number.
So we're realistically powerless. We're going to make a decision, we're going to do something here. And I think I would send a recommendation that I'm okay with 25%. Mr. Brownlee, you know I like you. I mean, we worked a lot together.
Sure.
So please just understand, I'm just trying to fight for the citizenry here a little bit. The view shed will be a little bit different from the side. Not much, but a little bit. Yeah, the front doesn't change at all, but the side does. And there's going to be a little more blockage there for the two-story units. We're looking at the floor plan, adding a third bedroom. Well, if we're adding a third bedroom, we need more parking. We've got other 3 bedrooms in the community, and they've got 2-car garages. So I would assume if you've got a third bedroom, these units would suddenly need to be a 2-car garage, and that's not proposed. Okay. Maybe that second story could just be bonus room, and then that goes away. And if they need to use it as a guest bedroom every now and then, okay, so be it. Kids can sleep in a bonus room. It's not the end of the world. So I'm not necessarily opposed to that either. But I do, from a historical standpoint, have a problem going back to all 2-story units. The city does need some 1-story units. I have sold many 1-story condos in Hendersonville and Gallatin. We don't have any in Goodlettsville, where we have some, very few. And when one comes for sale, which is rare because the people that live in them love them, they're gone in minutes. So there is a demand for them. At the same time, look, I want the project built, which means it needs to have a profit motive that functions. So I'm not immune to that. That matters. So at the end of the day, I think this board approved 25% back then. I think we would be reasonable to approve that again tonight. But what city council does, I don't know. I don't know what the reasoning was going to 40 back then. I don't know if they would back off, and they may go to 0. And if they do, so be it. They're the ones that are elected and can make that call. But I wanted the board to know the history. I think that's fair and transparent. And okay, I really do want the project. I've wanted the project for a long time. The city needs the project, but the city needs some 1-story units. So hopefully we can find a happy medium there.
And we're certainly open to that, Mr. Parnell, from that standpoint, to look at that redux opportunity and even consider, open to looking at, slightly a different plan as it relates to, possibly clustering the one-level homes, in a proximity and things of that nature. So, we're here to make the request, but also please know, as we have demonstrated, over the years, certainly willing to work with this body and also the surrounding neighbors, as well as city council as well.
I have a comment to make. Adam, is parking going to be sufficient if we go to this second story on all units?
That's something we could, I know we've approved the final master plan for the first phase, and we approved the overlay for everything. Approved the final for the first, not the second, if additional parking is needed. I mean, it has parking, I know it's a different plan, but along the on-street parking along the main roads and sections of parking also. You know, currently, this was before our current requirements, we did require more garages based on the number of bedrooms, but this was approved prior to that requirement in place, so. That's something you all could state, if you feel more parking's needed, it could equate to the ones that, you know, whatever percentage they do go from two-story down, or one-story up to two, that offset with additional parking. But there's a lot of parking on the site currently, but that's something that could be reviewed going forward, so.
And having the opportunity to create more, you know, if you go back to the front elevation, you'll see that the one-level homes have the one-car garage. So if we could, whether it's 0, 25%, or, you know, a reduction from the current 40%, we could look at the opportunity to add additional parking or change the new two-level home to a two-car garage to assuage the concern in regards to parking. We are far below, you know, the parking need as it was presently approved, but that is something that, you know, and again, to Mr. Parnell's point, if there was a second floor loft or usable area on the second floor, and that didn't include necessarily a third bedroom, that would be something that we might consider as well.
Okay, I think that should be ready for a motion. And whoever makes the motion, if this is to approve, I'd like to consider unifying the dormers so they're across the entire front, whether it's one-story or two-story unit. That's just one thing I'm thinking is good. And also,
Chairman, I'll make the motion. First of all, let me say.
the need to reaffirm that the buffer area will be looked at and taken care of in a timely manner.
I am going to recommend.
So do I have a motion on item number 5?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make the motion. First of all, let me say, the aesthetics of this revision are much improved over the others, both from the front, back, and on the sides. And I appreciate the work that you all have done to do that. I am going to recommend that we make a recommendation to the City Commission that we approve the applicant's request to permit all units to be either 1 or 2, and that we have a special request that we look for, be sure we check parking and the space between the existing homes and the new development, that we're sure we check with that. That would be my motion, Mr. Chairman.
We have a motion to approve.
I'll second it.
We have a second. Are there any questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman, Ms. Wheeler, can you repeat? I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
I want us to, in addition to what is asked here, that we permit all units to be either 1 or 2, we're not going to hold on to that 60-40%, but that we also are sure we look at parking to be sure that's adequate. And the concerns from the neighbors about whether or not what has been done is sufficiently adequate to meet the needs as initially requested.
Was there any mention of the dormers, or is that not part of your motion?
Well, all of this is part of the new design that they've brought us.
Well,
And those dormers are part of that proposal.
only for two-story units. If they're one-story.
No, sir, for all of them. That's on all of them.
Is that correct?
No, probably not.
The architecture that we've submitted on the top is what we would
Okay.
intend to build.
Whether it's
with-
one-story or two-story.
With the addition of the opportunity to not be constrained to the 40%, just like Ms. Wheeler said. Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm sorry, we had a motion. Did we have a second? Yeah, we had a second by Mayor Tenen. Any further comments? All those in favor of approval say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Show of hands, those for aye. For no? For Dry Creek Cottage? Noes have it. Is there anybody here?
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. On this item, if you would come down front, and if you would please limit your comments to 3 minutes or under. We're ready for item number 6. For Dry Creek Cottages on Dry Creek Road. Is there anybody here wishing to speak on this item? If you would come down front, and if you would please limit your comments to 3 minutes or under.
Low density to high density, I kind of look at it like a Trojan horse coming into our quiet neighborhood. There's a clear line right now, what I would call along. David Elkins, 509 Altaloma Road. My big concern is the zoning change. The high density, switching from low density to high density, I kind of look at it like a Trojan horse coming into our quiet neighborhood. There's a clear line right now, what I would call along the creek line, kind of on the Dry Creek Road side, where it's high density. And to me, the minute that we allow some high density over into the low density neighborhood, we'll have more developers come and try to buy somebody out, and then the next thing you know, we'll have a bunch of tall skinnies over on our quiet neighborhood. And, sorry, Meridian, wherever you're at, if you look at the 12 houses, man, y'all are packing them in there like sardines. So it's kind of like the minute that high density is allowed, the greed is there, because that's not a nice piece of real estate. It's steep. It's going to have a funky driveway. It's going to have, it's going to be having a driveway that actually comes out on Dry Creek Road at a hill where it's going to be dangerous. So packing a lot of people in there. So those are big concerns. I know last time one thing I do want to say is over on the low density side, they could still get 2 houses. So if they want to have their 12 and add 2, that keeps it low density. I know, Eric, are you going to get to talk any? I know there's big concern about a spring and water drainage for this ditch area that's in between the high density part and our 1.49 acres that are low density right now. And I guess the other key thing is, in January, we had a neighbor talking about he left our area of Davidson County and moved to Sumner County because he was getting crime, because you're packing more and more people into a small space. I really feel for the folks down on Nathan Drive and that are off of Dry Creek, because suddenly they're going to have all these tall skinnies packed in there. So I guess that's my main points. I feel like being on the Davidson County side, especially on the edge, I kind of feel like we're the forgotten stepchildren. Sumner County gets all the love and attention, and we're abused, and we're asking for mercy. So please look out for us.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Eric Scott. I'm at 519 Altaloma Road. I know that my wife has mentioned in previous meetings that the spring, that there is a natural spring that actually runs underneath our property that empties out right at the base of I guess what would be the proposed drive to go into this particular area. I'm not sure if you guys have actually gone and looked at that area, but there is that spring there, and as he just mentioned, the other side that comes into that is quite honestly, safety concerns getting into that property. We get ice in Tennessee. Not something I'm particularly useful or used to. I'm from Southern California, born and raised there, moved here about 15 years ago, and you know, that driveway, that when we saw the proposals from it from the very beginning, that was one of our biggest concerns, was how are people going to get out when we have snow? It's just not going to be possible. There is that natural spring, and quite frankly, high-density units being put in that area is just going to be a complete eyesore. Part of the reason my wife and I decided to buy the property we bought 10 years ago was just how beautiful the area is. Being at the top of the hill, having a nice view down the backside of our yard, you know, quite frankly, it would be pretty upsetting to wake up in the morning and have, you know, 2 or 3 story dwellings sitting on the backside of our property that completely eliminates all of the privacy that we've enjoyed for the last 10 years. I just don't think that it's the right move. So, thank you.
Thank you.
My name's Tim Boyd, and I'm one of the original homes in Dry Creek. My home backs up directly to this property that's being proposed. These natural springs are all behind there. When our subdivision was built, they put special drainage pipes on each side of all the properties so that the water could drain out into the street and go down the drain. Twice they've cleared the property behind us, proposing to build back there, and now it's grown up again. And since it's grown up, the drainage hasn't been bad at all. But if they clear out again and put homes, and all you got is asphalt and concrete and homes back there, the drainage is going to be ridiculous. We already look at these 2 and 3 story homes up on the hill there that have been built, and we've only got the trees between us to kind of block some of this additional building that's gone on. If you go and clear out this property again and put these homes up, then everyone will be looking at is these 2-story homes behind us. You know, it's just the looks of it is really bad. The other problem is they brought in hundreds of dump truck loads of dirt over the years, because that was a very low dip back there below our yard. And over the years, they've built that up, you know, bringing hundreds of dumpsters of dirt in. And in that dirt, there's tires, there's stumps, there's all kinds of stuff that they brought in. So I don't see how they could build on it. It'd be a stable land to begin with. There's just no way you can stabilize land in that short a period of time. And, you know, we've paid our taxes, I have at least for 29 years back there, and now to have someone come in and lower the property value of my home, it doesn't seem fair, because they've just overbuilt in this area. And, you know, we've got enough building back there as it is. And, you know, a few homes back there is one thing, but to put in all these homes they're, you know, expecting to put back there just doesn't seem right. And, you know, my drive and different areas have gotten cracked from the blasting that went on for the original homes up there on the hill between the interstate. And so, you know, I've had to incur the expense of repairing on that. And now to have this going on behind, like I said, I don't think anything's been done to study the drainage or the impact of putting homes back there. The traffic in the area has increased dramatically over the years, and you put more homes back there, and that's just going to make it even worse.
Thank you.
Thank you all for your time tonight. My name is Eric Meacham. I live in 127 Draper Drive, and I think the house that we own was owned by the original owners of this 1.49 acres before it was sold a few years ago for around $40,000, and then it looks like the other companies bought it for somewhere in the neighborhood of $720,000. So not quite sure how $720,000 was worth a landlocked piece of land that was sort of divided, but that's clearly why they want to develop it. They've got a lot of money sunk into it. I grew up in Nashville, and around the area. My father went to Goodlettsville High. I went to Whites Creek. Mr. Parnell was I was in his office quite a bit, unfortunately. But I think that what David and the other gentleman have already talked to, and the other Eric have already talked to, is it's not what Goodlettsville looks like. This is a neighborhood where there's original homes dating 70 years or more that don't want to be surrounded by what East Nashville has become. I grew up in East Nashville before I moved out to Jolton and went to Whites Creek. Family grew up around here. One of the reasons that we bought in Goodlettsville a few years ago, the Ingram property, is because you can't subdivide the property out here. You can't make this look like something that is happening in Madison, is happening in East Nashville, it's happening in Berry Hill, and these areas that used to have their own police department, and some still do, now can't sustain it. Old Hickory couldn't sustain what was happening in that area when it began to grow, and Lakewood lost its incorporation. So you've now got that all down Old Hickory Boulevard, back towards the lake, older homes in DuPont that have just lost the character of the neighborhoods. And it's bringing in money for developers, but the people that grew up here and that want it to still look like it looked and feel like it felt when we were growing up, where do we go? So just to add on really quick, there's 5 now. I don't know, David, if you've seen them. There are 5 beautiful bucks that live in that 1.49 acres and that 2.8 and those 2 acres. They've grown to racks that I'm sure there's lots of people in here that would love to have them on their wall. But there's nothing to hunt them. There's hawks back there. There's nothing to disturb that preserved little ecosystem that's back there, from natural springs that feed into it, and just hope that we can leave it as low density. They've already been approved, or I think that the original plans were for 14 homes. This is for 2 more individual single-family homes. Let's just keep it at low density, as low density as possible, to preserve it for what it is within that neighborhood.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If it's real quick, it's going to be a long night tonight.
Yeah, just wanted to say, his property, the Ingram family that had owned it for like 60 years, Mrs. Ingram died. The kids were selling it, and so they were selling that 1.49 acres. And so I've still got the text from Sharon where the people that were buying it said, oh, we're going to just use it as a greenway for a senior living development that we're building. And so
Okay. Thank you.
I can live with 2 houses because that keeps it low density, but it's definitely not a greenway.
Any other comments from the audience? Seeing none, we'll close the public forum for item number 6. And just as a reminder, now that we've moved into the business with the board and the developer, if you'll keep your questions that you might have until after the meeting, I would appreciate it. Adam?
The developer contacted me, had a conflict come up, and they're not available to be here tonight, so they requested deferral. I told him we've already notified residents, so we want to go forward with the request, and if y'all decide to do the deferral, but we'll have options. But I talked to these developers that when we send out letters over a month in advance, and I think we sent 30 to 50 letters in this area. It's not easy just to defer something the developer just pulled at the last minute. It's not really fair for the residents, so we still have the meeting, but they're not here to represent it. But this board can still make the decision to defer it, recommend approval to the city commission, or denial to the city commission. So.
Add one thing too, it's been deferred 3 times. They haven't shown up any time.
Thank you. I think maybe we ought to discuss it, if it's all right with the board. And I got some concerns, and I've got, I'm hearing what they're saying.
Okay.
And I somewhat agree with it, Anyway, I'll just, why don't we just go on, if that's all right with the board, we'll go ahead and go on as if the developer's here.
Okay,
right now.
as you see, here's the property. Everybody the 1.49 acres, the original roughly 2.3, I think the acreage is here. The zoning, like the gentleman was talking about earlier, the defined line, you can see this is high-density residential. My understanding it was done decades ago, and the red is low-density residential, so that's the line he's talking about. Comprehensive plan, you're right on the borderline between low-density conservation and high-density residential. So that's the question with this, do we feel like it's consistent, if we approve the rezoning, the revised master plan is consistent with the area, with the design. This is what's currently approved. It was permitted through TDEC a couple years ago. It's 16 units, 14 homes, and one 2-unit dwelling. If you remember last time we had a review of it, there was a request before the moratorium to extend it to, I think, 26 units. The planning commission told them, no, you can't increase the density. So they've been trying to do plans with the current 16 units. But the proposal is to extend it, like they're discussing, to put 4 units back here on this 1.49 acre section. So the goal is still to do 16 units, but to spread it over the 2 properties. What their developer told us is that they want to do a different house design. So this is just the layout with the 16 units. TDEC, recently the developer, the last time we had a meeting, we sent them, I think in July, the concern about the stream back there, and they had TDEC review it. Like I said, it was originally permitted through TDEC, but they reviewed it, and they considered it a wet weather conveyor. Basically, what that means it's not a regulated stream by TDEC. It's still drainage that the engineering would have to incorporate, of course, but it's not a TDEC designated or regulated drainage system. Here's the house designs. It's roughly 1,800 square feet per their plans, 2-story. Really, the house plans are similar to what was before, but these are bigger, wider homes. I think that was one of their proposals, to do the lots and spread it over the 2 properties. Staff stipulations, prior to review by the Goodlettsville City Commission, revised building plans, including a 1-car garage, meeting our minimum dimension of a 1-car garage. That's a little bit bigger than what they're showing. We do 12 by 22 1-car. And the exterior build materials be 50% brick or stone on all building sides. They're showing primarily like a cement fiberboard house. We allow cement fiberboard, but there has to be 50% brick or stone. So they'd have to revise that before it would go to the City Commission. And then 2, if the request is approved, they'd have to come back with a final master plan. If this board, say the City Commission approves it, they'd have to come back here, and they had to do now a stormwater quality and stormwater quality design and a storm buffer per our flood ordinance, probably, 15 to 20 feet on either side of that stream area there. Motion options, recommend the City Commission to approve the 1.49 acre property rezoning and the revised preliminary master plan. So it's a 2-part kind of request, but the original plan they're wanting to change and incorporate the 1.49 acres. If we determine that it's meeting compliance with our comprehensive plan and our zoning ordinance. Or 2, we could recommend the City Commission to deny the request if we basically in turn that we feel that it doesn't meet those requirements. Or 3, defer the request, that's their request, to include additional information as determined by the Planning Commission. If you all have a lot of questions remaining for the project, I would say or defer it to let the developer be here, or the board can recommend denial. So,
I'll turn it over to the board for any questions to Adam or discussion amongst ourselves.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to sound like a broken record, and I'm sorry, but the garages, the elevations that are shown are 1-car garage, yet the site plan shows 2-car garage. The calculations are calculated based on 2-car garages. But again, what they're showing is a 1-car garage. And I know I sound like I'm harping on that, but the reality is when you've got a half-acre to an acre lot subdivision and you've got cars in driveways, it's not that big a deal. When you cram in a bunch of houses on a lot and you've got cars all over the place, scattered all over the place, it just looks terrible. So especially in these higher density developments, I'm gonna harp on garages. So I apologize for that, but I would at least like to know the answer to that.
Well, we do not, the garage does not meet the minimum requirement for parking. we don't allow that to occur. They've added additional parking for it, but yeah, that'd be something we could verify. My understanding it was gonna be a one-car garage with 2 cars in front of it, and then have all the off-street, this parking in groups. Because they called me about that. We told them we wanted to see 4 cars per unit, current, the timing of it, it's under the current requirements, and they didn't want to, but they incorporated all the additional parking. That's something I can ask them about. My understanding it's gonna be a 1 car, but we do not, the garage does not meet our minimum parking.
Okay.
So that's my understanding, they were showing it in the off, I think that one's like 13 spaces here, like 4 and 5. I know it's kind of hard to see, so.
All I know is the drawing we've been given shows 2-car garages.
Did they give a reason why they could not be
I would say, make your motion tonight then. So.
I don't know, they've asked us to defer, I'm not opposed to that. I certainly don't want to approve it without having them here to explain answers to the questions.
Adam, did they give a reason why they could not be here this evening?
They said a conflict came up, so they wanted to defer it. And like I said, we've had this come up before, but after we send these letters, we're not going to tell citizens, you know, especially when you find out 2 days before. We're not going to tell citizens.
And that's
keep
one
coming
of
to
the,
speak. So.
one of the things I'd like for this board to consider, because this is the second time that the residents have come in to express their concern. Third time, excuse me. Thank you. And there's no one here to even present it, and they're the ones that's making the request to go on the agenda. So I think it comes to a point, I mean, I don't know, they say it's a conflict, I have no reason not to believe that, but it comes to a point that it goes only so far.
And that's why I wanted to keep it on the agenda for the planning commission can decide, you know, we're not going to defer it, we can actually recommend denial of it, so.
What is the effect if we recommend denial?
What
Yeah,
is
they
the
do.
original 14 that was originally approved? Is it a 2-car garage or are they 1-car?
I don't think they even had, if I'd have to go back and look, I don't have the plans from, I don't even know if they were garages originally. They just had the parking, I'd have to go back, I can't remember exactly, but they were, I don't think they had garages. That's why their goal was to do bigger lots and bigger units to incorporate something they feel is a better product. And you weren't on the board at the time, there's a retaining wall on the left-hand side, it's pretty tall. There's been a lot of requests to change the design of it. And one of the other parts of the plan was reducing the scale of that wall, because they heard the residents, and, you know, it's quite expensive, and that's probably one of the reasons this project that's never went anywhere, the cost of that wall. So we're gonna do a shorter wall, and I said in the 10-foot range, build bigger units. But yeah, I don't think it had a garage with the original design, so. And it was 16 total units, 14 single, then 2 units, so. Yes, I would assume they probably wanted to do some revisions to it.
Any other questions or comments?
Now, denial recommendation by this board, based, you know, if a city commissioner agrees, they can bring it up onto the city commission without recommendation.
So if it denies, it goes back to the original, they can build the original plans, is that correct?
Yes, I would assume they probably wanted to do some revisions to it because that wall. Now, denial recommendation by this board, based, you know, if a city commissioner agrees, they can bring it up onto the city commission without recommendation. That's rare that happens, but I just want the residents to be aware. Just because this board recommends denial doesn't mean they can't pursue it onto the city commission.
One of my issues is
I would just say if the planning commission feels like the project's not suitable, I'd recommend denying it then, so. Yeah, I mean, if you don't feel like you're going to approve it, there's no point to, I mean, if there's no chance for them to make changes that we feel suitable, then deferring is not doing anything really.
One of my issues is I agree with the ones who made comments. I don't like the idea of changing to high density. It just, I know it's just 1 or 2 units, but still
It's 4 units back there, and the reason it's high density is a consistent zone with what's out front. you know, the moratoriums for 3 units an acre, the back would actually be less than 3 units an acre. That's why they're able to make the request. But that doesn't mean it has to get approved just because they requested it, if the board
Right.
doesn't feel comfortable with
Chairman,
it.
I'll make a motion to deny.
Okay, if there's, we can defer, we can approve, I don't think we can approve without them being here. We could, we couldn't approve right now, could we, if we wanted to?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to deny.
All right, we have a motion to deny this request by Mr. Gilmore. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Barnesfield. Any further comments? All those in favor of denial, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion's denied. Thank you for your comments. Y'all be safe. I would like to recommend we have a 5 or 10 minute break. We'll meet right here in about 6:20. Was that? I do got some in my truck. Can we go get it? I think I got a few French fries in the ketchup packet in the back seat. That's it, might come back. I wasn't expecting that. It's a zoning appeals. I don't even know what they're talking about. I don't think it's only like one agenda item. I forget what it was. Was it a utility building or? Well, Adam would know. Adam, the guy with the glasses over there, stand up next to the wall. Yeah, he'll know. Take care. You gonna give this another go after next year? Hope you do. Hope you do. You weren't going to last time. No, that's what everybody is. I think you do a great job. I tell a lot of people that. I didn't know you before, before you did all that. I didn't know what to expect. Was that a year from now? Who would that be? You and Jimmy D? I think he'd do a good job. Just not what we do. Take my job as team. See, you, I'm saying, yep. If everybody's ready, we'll get started. Hey, Jennifer, could you go get us some pizzas? All right. If everybody's ready, we'll get started. We're ready for item number 7 and 8. I guess everybody here that's remaining is for these two items. Show of hand of how many people wish to speak to this agenda. Okay. Just keep in mind as you speak that, limit your comments to 3 minutes. We've read all your emails. They're very well worded, and I appreciate y'all being here. So, and also after once we start discussing amongst the board, if you can keep your comments low, I'd appreciate that as well, so we can get on with the business. But if you'd like to come on up, we'll give everybody a chance to speak for 3 minutes.
Legal for the city of Goodlettsville to annex into Sumner County. But I'd like to I'm Kay Cantrell Lamberson, and I live at 108 South Windridge Way. I would like to speak to your ethics about this proposal. I know that it's legal for the city of Goodlettsville to annex into Sumner County, but I'd like for you to think about, is it ethically right to do that. Now, everyone else is going to say about the traffic, and I'm interested in that too, because I have a hard time getting out of my neighborhood as it is. But I really want you to think about ethically, is it right for you all to annex into Goodlettsville property in Sumner County, put more property in your city, but more kids in the schools in Sumner County, which you won't have anything to say about that. You won't be able to pay anything or say anything. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Marcus Rowe. I live at 4330 Long Hollow Pike. I'm not against development. In fact, I co-own a 10-property estate lot development in Hendersonville. I'm all for doing it correctly. In this case, I am bothered by the fact that this is county property as well. Everything obviously hinges on the annexation itself. After conversations with Josh Sudduth at the county, I do understand that once the city puts in the annexation request, it becomes a state issue. Josh, before he recently left, did indicate to me that the County Planning Commission would love to be a part of this conversation in the hopes that this property might be confined to the county's density guidelines, which I would also be for. Again, I mentioned that everything hinges on the annexation. Without the annexation, the development is a moot point. The specific language utilized in the very first paragraph of the annexation resolution is not applicable in any way. The fact that it is the first paragraph would indicate that it's probably the most important. I know you've all read it, but the City of Goodlettsville hereby determines that the prosperity of the municipality and the territory described herein will be materially hindered and the welfare of the inhabitants and property endangered if the property is not annexed. I call BS on that. I would love for anyone on this council or anyone making this proposal to show me how that's factually true. Those of you on the board considering this and those of you proposing this should have read paragraph 1, and that should be the end of the discussion. It does not apply. There is no factual cause for the annexation of this property. It should therefore be under the guidelines of county development, full stop. I also, of course, am concerned with traffic, especially in light of the fact that the Allen Farms development containing over 90 homes is now underway, less than 1 mile away. The intersection of Allen Road and Long Hollow Pike is already a bottleneck. Long Hollow goes from 4 lanes with a turn lane in the middle down to 2. There's no turn lane onto Allen Road on the right, which is how Allen Farms will be accessed. I know there is a plan to add a turn lane in the middle of Long Hollow, and that's great, but it's not going to be adequate. My biggest concern is probably actually blasting. There was a story this week on News Channel 5 out of Mount Juliet of someone whose home, their foundation sank 3/4 of an inch from the blasting in a nearby development. If that is to happen, you know, what assurances do we have that damages would be covered by the builder or by the city themselves who approved the development? I fear none. This property adjoins mine, so if that happens, I don't know that we have anything to do. Appreciate your thoughts on that.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Sarah Childress. I'm on 127 Maple Ridge Lane, and I'm here once again in opposition to this development as a lifelong Goodlettsville resident and a zoologist. It's been 9 months since the last meeting that addressed the annexation and development of this piece of land. A lot's happened since then. Winter at last yielded to spring, and the hibernating groundhogs roused themselves to go find a snack, and migratory birds began to make their journey, some passing through and others coming to rest here after a weary trip. Councils met and argued and planned and promised to respect the wishes of their community. A wet spring gave way to a dry summer. Scores of awkward fledglings tottered and flapped their wings as they learned how to balance on a branch, until they finally cast off their mottled baby feathers and found their place in the world. Elusive warblers and tanagers slipped from their hiding places in search of water. Now summer fades into fall, the groundhogs waddle about to pad their bellies for winter, and the migrant birds take flight once more. It's been 9 months, and here we are, having circled around to the same point of contention with the same prospective view of brick and siding, like the world's most unappealing merry-go-round. I am not here again tonight because I enjoy public speaking, nor because I make a hobby of pestering council members, nor because I hate buildings, nor because I begrudge a man wishing to sell his property, nor even because I think we can push this off forever. I'm here because I care about this community and want to see it thrive. I'm here because these things that happened in the last 9 months could have been destroyed already, and another summer of fledglings is well worth a little discomfort on my part. I'm here because I will dearly miss the peace and tranquility of green space when it's gone. I'm here because, as a biologist, I happen to know what happens when ecosystems are paved over with reckless abandon, namely that pulling out lines of anchoring trees leads to erosion, that impervious surfaces cause runoff and flooding of lower grounds, that man-made retention ponds full of mosquitoes are a poor imitation of a natural aquatic ecosystem, that wrecking a delicately balanced food web leads to the proliferation of invasive species and pests, that losing pollinators is detrimental to a state so proud of its agriculture, and that excess noise and light pollution are wearying to the human mind. So here we are again, you with a full docket and me with 3 minutes to urge you to consider the consequences. Please, consider whether you are serving the needs the community has expressed. Consider whether the prospect of construction will enrich Goodlettsville in any way but monetarily. Consider if cramming in a few more buildings will actually build a city worth living in, or indeed a city worth anything more than passing through like a migratory bird in search of somewhere better. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Connie Childress. I live at 127 North Maple Ridge Lane, Winridge subdivision. We've lived in Goodlettsville for over 30 years, and we chose this place as home because it offered so many special things that a lot of other places didn't. The small town feel and the open spaces being a large consideration for us. I want to thank you for listening to our comments, and I appreciate the great responsibility that you have and your dedication to serving our city. I've been thinking lately, what do we as a community gain from continual new development in our area? Are the gains more important to us than the losses? We gain more traffic, more congestion, more noise, more asphalt, more concrete, more houses, more environmental damage, more wildlife habitat destruction, and for a few, we gain a whole lot, they gain a whole lot of money, and for the system, gains some tax revenue. However, we do lose too. We lose privacy, we lose peace, we lose quiet, we lose open spaces, we lose wildlife. We lose our small town feel, which is hanging by a thread. These things we take for granted until progress does away with them, and then we notice. I'm not opposed to progress. I obviously enjoy the benefits of this community, like getting my hair cut really close by, and I enjoy the house that I live in. But where does it all stop? Are we going to allow the problems to magnify and our city to diminish with no concern for our environment, our wildlife, and our quality of life in Goodlettsville? For some of us, the opportunity to see sunrise is more important than seeing vinyl siding and brick walls. We are now seeing a law of diminishing returns in development. It gives very little back to us as a community. It continues filling up every piece of land that can be acquired and leaves us, who actually live here, with what little remains. Thank you again for letting us speak.
Good evening. My name is Jim Childress. I live at 127 North Maple Ridge Lane in the Winridge subdivision. We've already expressed many of our concerns, but I'd like to summarize some of the issues. Admittedly, commenting on proposed plans without adequate time to review is a bit like being blind. Good evening. My name is Jim Childress. I live at 127 North Maple Ridge Lane in the Winridge subdivision. We've already expressed many of our concerns, but I'd like to summarize some of the issues.
Admittedly, commenting on proposed plans without adequate time to review is a bit like being blindfolded and then hitting the pinata. Also, the timing of this meeting is unfortunate since it occurs during the fall break and a number of our community have expressed concerns that they will not be able to attend due to vacations. Community survey. This city conducted a survey for the citizens of Goodlettsville after the last proposal. The community responded in a convincing fashion, saying that we wanted a small town feel, no overdevelopment, no open spaces. I moved here over 30 years ago for these very reasons. What we are witnessing is the very opposite. Loss of small town community, overdevelopment, natural habitat destruction. In general, pave the planet mentality. Will this make our community better? No. Traffic problems. We have traffic issues and everyone here knows it. We've been told that traffic infrastructure issues are a county problem and that this body has no authority to deal with it. I say this body does have a say in the matter. This can be accomplished by not approving this and the Allen Farm proposals and therefore not contributing to the current problem. Bait and switch development. The original Allen Farms proposal was for low-density development. They didn't build. Now they are petitioning for a higher density development. Was that their plan all along? Is this the plan for this proposal? Copper Creek across the street from Wind Ridge is putting houses on every conceivable patch of land. That was not in the original proposal. It has become an eyesore. Are these all brick? In the previous proposal, this council agreed development needs to be compatible with the houses in our subdivision. Has anything changed? This proposed development gives me a wonderful panorama of 4 backyards, 2 retention ponds, and a community mailbox center. I go from arguably the most scenic view in the neighborhood to the worst. Stormwater drainage. We are downstream from the proposed development that would create a significant loss of rainfall absorption. What is the real impact to our community? Blasting. The back corner of my house is only 3 feet above bedrock. Considering we and others have already had foundation work, what is the impact to the Wind Ridge homeowners if blasting is conducted? Summary, the legitimate concerns brought up heretofore have not been addressed. Goodlettsville does not have the infrastructure to support this and does not have to annex this property. I would ask this body to seriously consider these issues before rubber stamping this and other projects impacting this community.
Good evening. Justin Wilson, I live in the Copper Creek neighborhood. First of all, thank you. I know it's a very tough job and position that you guys are in. Luckily, the people before me have spoke on the majority of my points and much more eloquently than I could. But just to reiterate a few, the survey that was sent out, every results that we've gotten. Hey, good evening. Justin Wilson. I live in the Copper Creek neighborhood. First of all, thank you. I know it's a very tough job and position that you guys are in. Luckily, the people before me have spoke on the majority of my points and much more eloquently than I could. But just to reiterate a few, the survey that was sent out, every results that we've gotten and have shown of us have shown that the people of Goodlettsville don't want more subdivisions, more condos, more single-family homes attached, whatever it was called earlier. And there's a reason we keep showing up to these meetings. We want to address it. One of the reasons I'm here and I didn't want to speak, but I'd like to speak, is because people in the neighborhood are gone, like you mentioned, they're away for fall break, so I'm kind of stepping in for a few of them. Once this occurs, there's no taking it back. I don't believe the annexation in itself should be done. When it comes to the ecosystem, in Copper Creek, we're already seeing the effects of wildlife that are moving and controlling with them blasting and burning the way they have been. And the way they've actually been building has already been stated to the fire department. And as a son and brother of firemen, I completely understand where they're also coming from when it comes to the people and what they're going to have to deal with this increase. My wife and I are born and raised in Goodlettsville. We were gone for 13 years when I was in the Air Force. And I can say what's happening here happened to the base that I was at in California, and it was devastating to the community. We're talking hours, not just traffic. The education system, they didn't have enough desks in the schools. I don't think it's going to come to that here, but you have to look at that stuff as well. It's kind of unbelievable what it's come to. But we also don't have to look to other states. You can just look to the communities around us. Gallatin, White House, Hendersonville. The way they're expanding without the proper planning has been devastating for them. And I think they're realizing that now. They're starting to make their amendments now. but I also believe it's too late. The gentleman spoke on the first paragraph, which I completely agree. Once the whole point of the annex itself, once that's done, the neighborhood's done. I don't agree this should even be done. I want to end, and I don't have to speak as much, which is great because other people have been doing awesome, with the vision statement of Goodlettsville. Goodlettsville will be community of choice, a hometown that honors its heritage, provides a safe, nurturing environment for its residents, safeguards community values, and encourages growth that will enhance quality of life. That last part is what I really agree and what I think we should all look at. Is this neighborhood actually enhancing the quality of life for Goodlettsville itself, or is it something else? Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Wallace Ralph, and I own the property at 4403 Long Hollow Pike. This is the third time I've stood before this body in opposition to the project outlined in item number 7 of tonight's agenda. Good evening. My name is Wallace Ralph, and I own the property at 4403 Long Hollow Pike. This is the third time I've stood before this body in opposition to the project outlined in item number 7 of tonight's agenda. I'm sympathetic to some of the other speakers' concerns, specifically the environmental concerns, the overcrowding of the schools, and the traffic. On the other hand, I am resigned to the inevitability of change. And so I'm not objecting to change, and I'll say, like I've said before, I have no issue with the seller's right to sell the property and do his best with it. This project was originally submitted to build 112 units on 45 acres. Next, it was submitted for 91 units, and that was proposed and not approved. And now we're down to 69 units, which is a reduction in density, but apparently is a move to kind of find the sweet spot here on this deal to gain approval. But even with 69 units, like the other speaker said, the county provides for 45 units on this piece of property. It's still not in alignment with the essential character of Long Hollow Pike beyond Allen Road. Not knowing the financial details of this proposal, who is paying for what, I defer to the commission and trust that you seek a win-win deal here. I can see how the seller is going to be a winner, as his property, if it's annexed, will be increased in value significantly. The developer, of course, I can see how the developer would win in this deal, and I can also see long-term how the city of Goodlettsville could win on this deal. But when I look at myself as a county resident looking inside to the city, I see nothing but my loss. If you approve, I can look out the front door and see Goodlettsville City Services delivered where I have none. Our property values will suffer as the seller's property values are increased. Now, this commission did not pass the state law that allowed for an individual property owner to request annexation, but it makes your job that much more important to ensure that there's not the individual rights being granted at the expense of the community as a whole. Thank you.
My name is Jeremy Billingsley. I live at 121 North Maple Ridge. We've only lived there for
Is anybody else?
but my family has been in Goodlettsville since the 60s on Caldwell. The reason we moved from Hendersonville to Goodlettsville is because of the small town feel. Hey, my name is Jeremy Billingsley. I live at 121 North Maple Ridge. We've only lived there since March, but my family has been in Goodlettsville since the 60s on Caldwell. The reason we moved from Hendersonville to Goodlettsville is because of the small town feel and all the traffic going there. And it's already bad enough in the mornings because you got people coming from Gallatin and Portland down Long Hollow Pike and coming into our city and getting to 65. So that's an issue that we've already discussed. But another one is Hendersonville just passed that they can hunt in their backyards for deer. Do we really want to do that? Like, where are these deer going to go if we do develop this into what they want? So I know I don't want to hunt in my backyard. I have kids, so I'm sure some of y'all have kids like that too, but that's all I got to say. Everybody else has said everything else, so.
My name is Steve Peak, and I was the last one to speak the last time because I got more to lose than anything else. I got 2,000, me and my wife got 2,000 feet that adjoins this property. And I'm not against Phillips or the builders. I think Phillips and them is, what time I've talked to them over the last week, I think they'll build a good house, and I think it's not really going to affect the property value. There's a reason for Sumner County to say there's going to be one house per acre, because that's what fits it. I don't have an issue with anything going on. It's just the density here. I can look out my backyard and I see the sunset come up in the east, and I see it go down in the west. It's one of the most gorgeous places around here, and you start filling it up with more than what it should have, then I have an issue with that. And y'all, and the people over at Wind Ridge, I don't know what the density is there, but from the plans you got here, it's more density than what Wind Ridge is, and I think we just need to come to some kind of agreement. If they can't build it with 45 houses, then I guess it shouldn't be built, because that's what Sumner County agrees. I don't see how you can go past what Sumner County agrees what that area should be. And that's all I got to say.
First, I want to thank you for your dedicated service to our city. I understand the weight of making this decision when faced with diverse opinions. Good evening. My name is Chris Reed. I reside at 119 North Maple Ridge in the Wind Ridge subdivision. First, I want to thank you, your dedicated service to our city. I understand the weight of making this decision when faced with diverse opinions about our community's future. But I do have to express my concerns. Over the last year, many of us have participated in surveys and planned sessions, investing our time because we care deeply about the Goodlettsville future. I respectfully ask that this investment not be wasted on decisions that don't align with our community's best interests. Let me be clear. I don't believe population growth through residential expansion is beneficial for our city right at the moment. The comprehensive and overwhelming voice of our citizens have already documented the concerns on our infrastructure. Our roads are increasingly congested, our schools are at capacity, our water, waste, facility systems are going to need significant improvement in order to continue to support the overwhelming growth. What makes Goodlettsville special is our strategic advantage. We maintain a precious small-town USA character while sitting 15 minutes away from Nashville. This is a really golden opportunity. Rather than diluting it, this unique identity with hasty development, we should leverage it thoughtfully. The timing alone should give us pause. The housing market is significantly cooled, and indicators suggest this trend will continue. We have homes in Wind Ridge that haven't sold for months. Why would we add more inventory to an already saturated market? And there are different home types, and I understand that there's different needs and that sort of thing. But I think that is something that we should definitely take into consideration. I'm not advocating for zero growth at all, but I do advocate for strategic, thoughtful planning rather than annexation for annexation's sake. We are at the cusp of transformative changes just in the world over. AI, robotics are bringing unprecedented automation that will fundamentally reshape our job market. American first manufacturing policies are creating a more localized economy. We need to prepare for businesses that are innovative, unique, and adapted to this new landscape. This land could be instrumental in that preparation. Imagine the possibilities beyond development. Think sustainable agricultural, community resources, or businesses that will thrive into tomorrow's economy. Once we cover this land with houses, those opportunities vanish forever. I absolutely respect Dr. Ralph has every right to sell this land at fair market value, but consider this. Even sold as farmland, this property would likely fetch plenty of money, surely a sustainable inheritance for his family. This land has been in the Ralph family for generations, carrying a legacy beyond monetary value. Just because current circumstances have changed doesn't mean we have to allow squeezing every dollar from the soil at the expense of our community's future. Thank you.
Anyone else wish to speak?
Hello, my name is Corey Spano, and I'm a resident of the Windridge neighborhood on North Maple Ridge Lane. I'm a lifelong Sumner County resident, and I've lived in Goodlettsville for over 8 years now. Also a Beach alumni. This is the third time we've been here. I know, I hate to have to speak again, but, I know on behalf of many of our community who are not able to be here tonight, they've sent in letters of, their concerns, many discussions. So, it's abundantly clear that, we are firmly in opposition to this annexation and development. This is not the time nor the place. This is largely the same proposal. It's 99% of the problems and issues and concerns of the last one that people so overwhelmingly opposed still exists. We already have another development across the street at 96 or 97 acres, I believe, and around 70 homes approved there. So this proposal would be literally twice the density and adding to the problem that we've all seen among the surveys and the community. As I've stated before, the commission, I know you guys didn't just bring this up, but the commission is doing a good job. Focus on the core, the city core, the development of those commercial growth in those areas for revitalization. Please do not focus on annexing rural areas for development when so much, we haven't even seen the negative effects already. At the end of the day, all of you, I appreciate your service to our community, and you all represent us, and I appreciate that. And based off of the prior meetings, what you've heard tonight, just given all the evidence that's been presented with overwhelming opposition to this, it would be viewed as a major slap in the face to those of us who have supported you. And so we're asking that you would deny this and allow the will of the people to be made. So, thank you.
Your comments and your written letters have not fallen on deaf ears. Anyone else? Yeah, I'll close this session of the citizen comments. I will say this, your comments and your written letters have not fallen on deaf ears. I think I can speak for the whole board on that. And I also will, I think they may agree with me on this. I have spent personally more time studying these plans, thinking about these plans, driving around the neighborhoods all 3 times this has come up than I have on any other project that we come across. And the gentleman said it'd be a slap in the face. Whatever our decision is will not be a slap in your face. We don't mean to offend. We're just trying to do the best we can for the city of Goodlettsville. And I want y'all to understand that. Now I'll turn it over to Adam. And this is for consideration.
What I'll do, like we did last time, discuss the annexation and the project all as one, because the city, we can annex property unless we rezone something with it. We can only annex property in Sumner County. We don't have that ability in Davidson County, but in Sumner County we do. The property, we've talked about 45, it's 2 tracts. So it's a requested annexation by the property owner, which is permitted by state law. It joins our current city limits. It's within the Sumner County urban growth boundary. The Sumner County urban growth boundary was originally approved in 2000, and we amended it in 2022. The county was part of that approval process, so the city defined their future city limits per state law over 2 decades ago. This request also includes a 1,700 feet section of Long Haul Pike that go from Allen Road to the property frontage. We try to look at, when we look at annexing property, try to take the roadways for the future residents. If, you know, if the annexation goes through, that it's controlled by the city. Of course, this is a state highway, so it would be a TDEC permit required and improvements to them. This is the Sumner County urban growth boundary. Here are city limits in the light pink. The dark purple was our plan approved in the early 2000s, and then in 2022 we added a section of our urban growth boundary. Plan of services overview. By state law, we got to do a plan of service when we annex property. The days of when cities could annex and provide zero services to the residents in those areas, those are kind of gone. So we have to be able to show the progress of the services. Development projects, the tricky thing about them is that the developer extends the water, sewer, any kind of roadway improvements required with that. But on that plan of services, there is an existing house at 4408, so if annexed, if it goes before the city commission, it's formally done, goes through all the process, the city services would apply to that resident of 4408 as when that annexation takes effect. We did have a provision for the street lighting along Long Hollow within 1 year of the plan of services. Like I talked about earlier, services extended by the developer. That'd be any water and sewer utility required for the development, and the TDOT, what we anticipate the traffic turn lane improvements being required. Here's our current comprehensive land use plan. Some of the residents spoke about the surveys. We're in process right now with a new comprehensive plan, but it's not been adopted. It's still got a couple months. We're working still with it. This is our current one. This is from 2005. The red area is low-density residential development. And low-density that plan is 1 to 2 units per acre. So their proposal, they're roughly about 1.5 units an acre, would fall within that provision. And when you go through there's text also with the plan. It talks about development areas. Like I said, this is low-density residential development. Development areas are those where new development or redevelopment can be permitted at varying densities. The density, like I said, that's the question for this board when we review it. Some other comments that talks about development should be permitted to develop at a density appropriate for the area where sewer is available, which their proposal is to extend sewer to this. Low to medium density may occur. Then on down it talks about planned unit development should be encouraged. That's pretty much what we do all our new developments through. And density and design control should be exercised through the planned unit development process. And the history of this project really kind of shows the concern the Planning Commission had for the smaller lots and the push to do lots consistent with the Wind Ridge and Copper Creek. You know, Wind Ridge has lots ranging from 90 to 100, some a little bit more. Copper Creek, similar. The back section of Copper Creek, the lots are smaller. So the proposal, the latest proposal is for lots in the 90 to 100 width range. The setback or the lot sizes are proposing roughly 15,000 square feet. Wind Ridge goes from 15 to 20. Copper Creek, the original section of Copper Creek is similar. This is the current property zoning map. You can see here's Wind Ridge. All the light green, that's low-density residential planning development. The dark green is an R40 low-density residential. So kind of when we look at rezoning of possible annexation area, kind of the similar areas, which per the comprehensive plan, the goal is to try to be consistent with the design of the area. This is the revised proposal they've submitted. This is 69 lots, like some of the residents spoke earlier. Originally started at 112. It was deferred. It went down to 91. It was denied. They're showing 69 lots, like I said, roughly over 1.5 units an acre. A couple things with this. There was concern about a connection. The right-of-way for North Maple was, I think that's the name of the street, was intended for future connection. When it was the way it was developed, there's concern about that. The city's fire code does require a second point of access, anything over 30 lots. So talked to our fire marshal and fire chief. One of the stipulations we would have, if approved, some level of connection, even if it's a 12-foot connection with a gate, not intended to be a street, be provided for future emergency services. If there's ever an accident either blocking roads, a fire that would block the main access with fire hoses. At either project, the goal would be to have a connection for emergency. The goal would not be a street, wouldn't be within public right-of-way, and it would be limited in width. The lot sizes, Planning Commission talked about this a lot with the previous plans to be more consistent with Windridge. If you remember, a couple years ago, we revised our zoning ordinance to require forced off-street parking, which they showed that, and also to limit the front-loaded garages. These have side courtyard-loaded garages and a recessed front. If you've seen the project out in Beach area on Long Haul Pike, kind of the assistant garage design on that. So that's per our zoning ordinance requirement. Here's some house plans, and I'll let the developers here to discuss these more in detail about the different proposals of the house designs they're showing here. Included like a typical house plan. In the meeting packet online, there was some additional house plans, but this shows, if there's questions about square footage, value of homes, that'd be something for the developer to propose or discuss. As far as sewer for the area, the city of Goodlettsville is the sewer provider. So the project would require extension of city sewer services. You can see in Windridge, the sewer, and talking to the sewer superintendent, there is a question of which connection point the sewer be in. There's some elevation changes, so it might be a combination of sewer to both the line along Allen or the one in Windridge currently. So two parts on this. I kind of put these together. Annexation process, plan of services. This board provides a recommendation to our city commission on this as well. Like I said, we take these both, when we take them to the city commission, we'd have to do them at the same time. They're different procedures, but they have to be done at the same time. We can't annex property without defining the zone. That would basically have property with no zoning attached to it. So we always try to keep them together when we do that. Motion options, recommend the city commission approval of the annexation and plan of services based on the planning commission determination during the meeting discussion. 2, recommend the city commission you could request denial of the plan of services and annexation. Or 3, we could defer it. My recommendation are tied together. I'll go through the master plan and zoning one too. Staff stipulation, City of Goodlettsville sewer service letter to be obtained prior to the city commission final review of if this goes forward, final review of rezoning and preliminary master plan. They're currently reviewing that. Like I said, it's a question of where the sewer will be able to connect into. We did get the letter from the White House Utility District on their water service. The second stipulation is a limited emergency gated connection to North Maple Ridge Lane, public road right-of-way for emergency services as defined above. In my staff report, I referenced, talking with the fire chief and fire marshal, 12-foot wide, minimum width, gated within some type of easement that could be used for a public use for the fire emergency services. Motion options, we can recommend to approve it if we feel like it's consistent with our current comprehensive plan, our zoning ordinance. We can recommend denial if we do not feel it's consistent, or we can defer the request. Per the comprehensive plan, like I showed you, our current comprehensive plan in the residential, low-density residential development, the 1 to 2 units an acre, it is consistent with that. They have the lot sizes, the homes. We've requested larger homes, bigger lots, so they've complied with those. So my recommendation is approval, but the timing of the project, if you all feel it's appropriate, that's really what the review is forward on to the city commission.
So we'll be voting on the zoning and the annexation.
Last time we
And
voted.
if that passes, then we'll be voting on the preliminary.
In January, what the board did when they denied the previous request, it was one vote for both.
So all that in one.
Because if the city doesn't feel the project's appropriate, then really the annexation is a moot point.
Okay.
David Abbey, Development Management
All right.
Group here.
Here's the developer here.
So, obviously, there's been a significant change in who the developer.
If you'd tell us your name and be sure to speak up in the mic.
Yes, sir. David Abbey, Development Management Group here with Mr. Jason Phillips from Phillips Builders, representing this project. So, obviously, there's been a significant change in who the developer looking at the property is, which is another reason why the plan has significantly changed as well. And this is a lot of what he has decided that he wanted to do as well as a part of the development. Getting this down to 69 units, as Adam has mentioned, we're roughly 1.5 units per acre. Lots range anywhere from the 15,000 to 20,000 roughly square foot. So it does basically meet exactly around the same things that Windridge is also doing as well. Along all of the property's boundaries on the exterior, we've gone to a 35-foot undisturbed buffer, which is represented and noted in the plans. It's about 10 to 15 feet above what is actually required. Again, doing so in taking into account the existing neighbors next door and trying to set up even for the future phases if anything occurs further north. Obviously, we've created an amenity area in the back that kind of allows for the neighbors to go and do some things there. We're currently showing 25% open space, which is well above the 10% requirement per the zoning. Currently, as Adam had mentioned, obviously we don't show the secondary access there off of the cul-de-sac leading in. Again, based on discussions with Windridge subdivision, that's currently why that's not shown. We know that's open for the discussion, and we don't necessarily have an issue with that. The 12 feet is perfectly fine. We were considering that if we do that as more of a pervious drive, so that it doesn't look like it is a normal connection. There are ways, and we've currently done this on another project where it's fire truck accessible, so they don't have any issues for it based on their access needs. As you can tell, we've also got, and another change that occurred right there parallel to Long Hollow Pike, we've got a frontage road to make sure that also those houses actually front more towards Long Hollow Pike instead of seeing the back, of the houses as well. Floor plans will generally range anywhere from about 2,900 to 3,500 square feet, so there's some good flexibility in there based on what, again, the developer would like to do with that. So, concerns about drainage, obviously, if this moves forward, there is engineering analysis that has to be done to check all that per city requirements. Obviously, we would definitely work on how we address that, water quality, quantity purposes. Obviously, there's a few utility connections that need to be made. We've got the shown that's not necessarily required as of yet, but we have shown it because we believe that it's going to be helping access into the property, even through our conversation with TDOT to show that left turn in so that obviously it can allow traffic to flow through there a little bit better. Related to another comment about the blasting or anything, I'd have to let Jason with Phillips Builders address anything like that, as he knows what he may or may not be doing there, and then related to architecture and stuff as well.
Okay, questions or comments from the board?
I don't have a picture of it. The road was built to the property line. So it would be gated.
Adam, show us on where this access road with the gate might be.
At the end of Maple here, I don't have a picture of it. The road was built to the property line, so it would be gated, and the extension, I would assume, into here or here. I think the fire department, the fire chief and marshal was picky about which one, but just a connection. The straight is possible just for the fire engines.
Commissioner, excuse me, that is not just something that
That'd be the only place it really could be, because I don't know of any other where the road would be able to connect
the International Fire Code.
or a drive connected into the road. So.
Members of the board, commission, excuse me, that is not just something that the fire marshal and fire chief came up with. It is a requirement under the International Fire Code whenever there's development of one or two family dwellings, more than 30 units, it requires that second access. So it's not something that we're just saying it needs to be done. It's a requirement of the International Fire Code.
The plan was discussed with TDOT, based on 112 lots. So we're assuming, if this goes forward, they would probably still anticipate anticipate the same requirements, but even reduced density. I would think just what they look for. The turn lane was discussed with TDOT when it was based on 112 lots. So we're assuming, if this goes forward, they would probably still anticipate the same requirements, but even the reduced density, I would think, just what they look for with a development like that. No, we anticipate a turn lane. I would anticipate one being required based on what TDOT's looking for, similar. But this was based on when it was 112, so we anticipate them keeping that requirement. No, we anticipate a turn lane. I would anticipate one being required based on what TDOT's looking for, similar. But this was based on when it was 112, so we anticipate them keeping that requirement. Per our discussion with them, when it was 100, they were more interested in the turn lane really regardless of the lot number originally, so. Just due to the volume, I assume, on Long Haul Pike, so.
Any other questions from the board?
Yeah, it's just through that property. That's correct.
Okay, any other questions from the board? Ms. Barnett?
I'm sorry, yes. So the two cul-de-sacs that are going off to the north, we don't really know what's going to happen in the future. Are those actually, is there right-of-way actually to the property line that could be connected to in the future if it became something desired, which we have no idea at this point?
Yeah, it's open space that would allow for a connection.
Okay, but it's not like owned by an HOA, it's actual right-of-way that goes to the property line?
We can create it that way either way.
Okay, that'd be good.
Absolutely.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, I assume this one was intended possibly for future, but that one with the drainage area there, so.
This, if you hold your comments, I'd appreciate it. Any other comments from the board?
What I'll say is at the last meeting, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
What I'll say is at the last meeting, there were, I'm going to step it in a little bit. There were more residents here, and that's probably because of the fall break, so apologize for that. But at that meeting, a lot of people just said that the previous plan really did not match Windridge significantly enough, and that it was, the density was higher, the lots were smaller, the houses weren't as nice, and this seems to have addressed that. I am a huge fan of the frontage road on the front. Those of you that are familiar with Indian Hills on Caldwell know that those houses are turned to the front to Caldwell, and that just looks a little bit better than having, driving down Long Hollow Pike and seeing the back of those houses. So the way that frontage road is being built, that's an asset to our community, and I'm appreciative of that. It feels like, to me, the requests that have been made that can be met have been met. And I think that's a positive sign. I think that's a step in the right direction for sure. This being in our urban growth boundary, It was always meant to be annexed at some point. We don't control when that request comes in. Nobody on this board has any control over that. That comes to us when somebody asks for that to come into us. We don't go to a landowner and ask them to go sell their property. They decide when they're gonna sell their property, when they need to sell their property. And this landowner has done that. That coordination is not in our hands. We respond to the requests that are given to us. So I am well aware that there are a lot of people that are not going to be happy if this is approved. And honestly, I have no idea whether it will be or not. This board has already surprised me twice tonight. I don't know what they're going to do. But I think the developer has put a lot of effort into trying to address the problems that can be addressed. And with that, I'll give it back.
Any other comments or
This board can choose to do one motion. If you want to include both of them or vote on separate. I just know last time.
And would you put back on the screen what we'll be looking for a motion for?
Yes, this board can choose to do one motion. If you want to include both of them or vote on them separate. I just know because last time y'all voted one time for both. But basically, recommend to approve to the city commission or deny it. Or if you want to defer it. I know there was requests for deferral possibly on some of the emails y'all seen due to the fall break concerns. But this board is just, they're serving as the advisory to the city commission. The city commission is the one that makes the final determination. But basically it boils down to approval or denial or deferral.
If this is approved, then it goes to the city commission in a few weeks.
It'd be November.
It'd be November.
First reading.
If it is denied, it can still go to the city commission, is that correct?
If, what we've asked to do on situations like that in the past is, if a city commissioner, the developer wants to continue, they have to get a city commissioner to basically okay us to put it on the agenda.
So we'll be looking for a motion to recommend, deny, or defer for the rezoning and annexation of this property. Excuse me.
Yeah, there's the 25%. Planning developments, same with Windridge, all of those. It's not.
15,000 square feet is not one and a half, it's 2.8 per acre.
Yeah, but there's the 25% open space. That's the planning developments, same with Windridge, all of those. It's not. You balance it out with open space. That's what's a master plan. I mean, with open space, it balances out because this is not every inch of the property's lot. That's what he's saying. Yeah, he's correct, but you balance it out with open space. That's what's a master plan development.
Okay, so do I have a motion? If you'll put those back up, please, Adam. Recommend, deny, or defer for annexation and rezoning of this property
Chairman, I make a motion.
to low-density plan unit development.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to deny.
Any further questions or comments? Mr. Barnfield has recommended denial of this request. Is there a second?
Just a comment.
Second by Mr. McNeil. Any further questions or comments regarding this?
Mr. Chairman, just a comment, I guess piggybacking off of Mr. Parnell. I met with Mr. Phillips at his development. He showed me around and showed me the homes that was going to be built. And I know one of the things that myself and I'm one of the elected officials here, so I'll take it as it comes, but, we want nicer, we're trying to get to a certain level of home to can change the aesthetics, bring, higher home values to our area. And I agree with Mr. Parnell. I mean, the neighborhood that is proposed here is definitely equivalent as far as home bases as what's in Windridge. I say all that to say, with our comprehensive plan coming up before to be voted on, that would require 40,000 square foot lots. And I shared that with Mr. Phillips in our meeting. And Adam, if I'm correct, the urban growth plan, doesn't that require, if it's done in the county, to also be?
When the city originally adopted it, it was just low density, because our comprehensive plan, let me go up to a picture, it actually includes the area outside of our city limits, the original urban growth boundary, because this was in 2005, the city originally did it in 2000, that's Sumner County urban growth boundary. And in 2020, the one that was revised, of course, that took a couple years, the city basically said it would be low density. You know, a lot of that property out there is challenging. It says, you know, lower density. So that's all we kind of referred it to as low density.
But I thought if it was to be built at the county level,
In
since
there-
it was in the growth.
If
urban
it's in
growth
there,
area.
if it's not in the city limits. Like the county.
Correct.
In urban growth boundaries, because not everything in an urban growth boundary gets annexed.
Right.
Like Mr. Parnell was saying, you know, sometimes they just want to build a house on it. The county has a rule in urban growth boundaries, if it's not in the city, it is limited to 1 unit per acre.
Correct. Yeah, thank you.
But if in the city, we would control that through zoning, but that was the original intention for low density in our whole urban growth boundary.
Yeah. So I say all that to say, I had expressed the concern for meeting the comprehensive plan that's coming up, first of the year. And I know that he's on a time schedule, but I also know that there's a lot of development in that consolidated area. And so for that reason, I shared to him my concerns and told him that that's what I was looking at, and that's what the people of the city wanted, and that's what I'm here for. I'm a voice for the citizens. So, but this subdivision, I mean, I don't know what the vision is down the road as far as annexations, or if a developer wants to go to the county to develop it. I mean, one day we're going to see this area developed, and I would much rather see it developed with something where we have the say on it, and something with a nice product like he's willing to offer. But at this time, I just don't think we're ready for that.
Can I say something? I appreciate y'all's time. You know, I love this city. I grew up here. I was born here. And I've been doing this my whole career. And I've heard comments about cities being overdeveloped, and we see that all over the city of Nashville right now and what we do. I don't see that in the city of Goodlettsville. What I ask the commission to consider is, where do you go buy a new home in the city of Goodlettsville right now in the price point between $500,000 and $900,000? The homes that we built up the street that we will mirror in this community if we're lucky enough to get approved, our average sales price was $865,000. How is a new home, 69 new homes, where the average sales price is $865,000, the most expensive house was $975,000. How is that resident bad for the city of Goodlettsville? And I understand you've got pressure. The complaints that I've heard tonight are never going to change. Everybody that lives in the city of Goodlettsville lives on a piece of property that used to be a farm. And so that's what this is. I don't expect to get any support from the residents to turn the farm into a community, but the community that we're going to develop, we take a lot of pride in this city, some of the communities that we've developed in this city, and, you know, that doesn't mean whenever it does come back around, it's going to be any easier than this time. This time, I believe we're the right applicant. We take pride in what we do. we've engineered a plan that is not the most efficient plan. We've been very thoughtful on what this community will look like. We will push the price point to where our residents will be, it will increase property values in the city of Goodlettsville with neighboring communities. It happens every time. If we build a 3,000 square foot house and we sell it for $875,000, what does that do to the neighboring residents' 3,000 square foot house, even though it's older? It will raise property, the comps for their home will go up. So I just, if we get denied this project, we've got a tight window contractually. That's not anybody's problem here, but think about what you're doing before you deny this, because I haven't really heard, there's a whole lot more reason to approve this project when you consider where do you go buy a new home in the city of Goodlettsville? If an executive at Dollar General wants to buy a house in the city of Goodlettsville for $875,000, where are they going? They're going to Hendersonville or they're going to Gallatin. Is that where you want them to go, or would you like to have their dollars in the city of Goodlettsville? So anyway, there's more than just one side. I understand nobody wants new development if you're living here, if you're a neighboring community, but the Planning Commission has to consider what is the best for the city of Goodlettsville, not just the neighboring communities. What's best for the entire city? Thank you for your time.
So we have a motion to deny. We have a second. We've heard comments, so I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of denying this request, say aye. Those opposed to this, to the denial, say aye. Aye. Yes. Those in favor of denying this request, say aye. Show of hands. Those in favor, those opposed to the denial, say aye and raise your hand. Aye. Okay.
It may be better to do a roll call, we're not certain. Okay.
Motion fails.
Okay, Adam, did you, you and Sharon get that? Okay. It may be better to do a roll call, we're not certain.
Okay.
Let's do that.
Again, those who are in favor of denying this request, raise your hand. Have three. Those in opposition of the motion, raise their hand. Okay.
Can I ask a favor? Can we do a roll call?
The denial failed, so I guess the question will be now.
No.
Will be a reverse motion.
It was denial. Can I ask a favor? Can we do a roll call? Let everyone call everyone's name individually and just say aye for denial or no for passage, because I think we're kind of gotten things confused a little bit.
Maybe so.
I think so.
Okay, the motion in the second was for denial of this request to rezone and annex. Ms. Wheeler?
I'm not for denial.
Mr. Barnesfield? Mayor Tenen? Scott True is not for denial. Mr. McNeil? He is for denial. Skillmore? Mr. Parnell?
Mr. Chairman.
So the motion fails.
I would like for us to consider another different. I have another motion. As several people have pointed out tonight, Sumner County Schools. Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
I would like for us to consider another different motion. As several people have pointed out tonight, Sumner County Schools are on fall break. There are a number of people not here who would have been here to speak if they could have been. Let me just point out that our meeting date is undeterred by other options in the city, because we could change the meeting date for lots and lots of reasons. But I do think in the interest of letting everyone speak who wants a chance to speak, that we defer. That would be my motion, that we defer for 1 month, only 1 month, to let this discussion be furthered. If there's anyone who has anything significant to add, that they can come and speak to us on that. And then after that opportunity to speak, then we'll take up motion again.
All right, we have a motion to defer. Is there a second? Motion fails for a second. Is there another motion from the board? Mr. Parnell.
I don't want to waste time here, but okay, so let's just do it. I move to approve the request for annexation and rezoning as long as the right-of-way is provided to the north property lines of the project.
We have a motion to approve this with stipulation. Is there a second?
Mr. Chairman, I'll second that motion just in case there's any discussion.
You'll second the motion to approve?
Yes, sir. That way it opens the floor to discuss it.
Okay. Any discussion? We have a motion to approve and a second. Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman, since we're going to discuss it, I'll go ahead and say what I was going to say. Economically speaking, a city is a geographical area and a group of people. That's what makes a city. And a good city, a growing economic city, make sure that that land that is encompassed in its city limits is used to the highest and best use that's possible for that land, because that adds value to that land. And as you grow that pot of value, you grow economically. Just as you take the people in a city and you add knowledge and skills and work ethic and honor and keep crime low, those things add value to a city because it's adding capability and value to the people in the city. I think we are looking at land that, for the highest and best use of this land, that, you know, there was a gentleman that came up and talked about commercial needs in the future, given AI and some of the changes that are coming. I don't disagree with that, but I don't think this area lends itself to commercial land at all. This area really should be a residential area. And when it comes down to the acre lots, I know Goodlettsville had acre lots in the 60s, 50s, 60s, and 70s, I guess. And a lot of that was really because we were a septic-focused subdivisions. And because of that, people got used to seeing acre lots. I grew up on one right here in Goodlettsville. Loved it. Still own it, actually. But the reality is, economically speaking, acre lots are difficult for cities. The infrastructure of keeping the roads maintained and keeping the water infrastructure maintained and keeping the sewer maintained and keeping the drainage systems maintained. It takes more money to maintain the infrastructure for an acre lot subdivision than for a subdivision with quarter acre or third acre lots like this one is. A lot more, actually. And the only reason it worked back then was because we had Rivergate Mall giving our city a ton of money because Rivergate Mall was flourishing back then in the 70s and 80s. Okay, so now we don't have all that. We're becoming a bedroom community. We can't afford to develop acre lots in Goodlettsville. That'll bankrupt us faster than anything else. At the same time, we have constituents who want restaurants, and they want retail, and they want places to go and things to do. And quite honestly, our economic development team for the city is constantly saying, we need more heads and beds. We need more residences in order to support and get restaurants to come to town and retail establishments to come to town. Economically speaking, it is beneficial for us to do everything we can to make sure that every piece of property in the city limits of Goodlettsville is used to its highest and best use. And quite honestly, what is being proposed is exactly that. I want to live in a community that's growing and doesn't have economic issues. I want to live in a community where when the police say, hey, we need a new vehicle, we have money in the coffers to do that. And when the fire department says, hey, we need to hire a couple of new firefighters, we have money in the coffers to do that. That doesn't just happen. And by the way, I want that to happen without high taxes, because if we make taxes too high, nobody's going to want to live here either. So it is a balancing act. And we may not want a neighbor next to us when we haven't had one for 30 years. But the reality is, this land is being sold. This land, highest and best use, is as a residential subdivision of single-family homes, and what is being proposed is really very reasonable. So with that, clearly I support my own motion, but I really do hope that this gets 4 votes tonight. Thank you.
Any other comments before we go to a vote? Motion is for approval, and it has been seconded. All those in favor of approval, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Show of hands. All those in, wait a second. All those in favor of approval, raise your hand. 3. Mr. Parnell, myself, Mayor Tenon. All those opposed, raise your hand. Mr. Gilmore, McNeil, Barnesfield, Ms. Wheeler. So that's been denied as well. What's next? Adam, what's next?
We got discussion items next, so. That'd be, the developer could choose to reach out to a city commissioner and see if you can get him one to take it on to the city commission with a denial recommendation, without an approved recommendation. I mean, I don't know if there is any other motions to make, so I would say we leave it at that, so.
Okay. So your request, the request has been denied. Thank you. We'll go on to the discussion item then.
Requests, this is a non-voting item. These next two, talking about the comprehensive plan next. But we have requests from a resident, 24 acres. It's a corner of Long Haul Pike and Willis Branch Road. Currently zoned to R40. It's listed for sale. You may notice that recently. And I had a lady come speak to me, possibility of purchasing the property to do commercial horse stables. My understanding, there was horses there in the past, always been on the property, but like a commercial level stable and possibly an event center. Right now in our R40, it would not be allowed. Our home occupations do not allow people actually coming in facilities like that. So the discussion tonight was if we would be open to looking at changing our ordinance, if we feel like something of this nature would be a positive.
Adam, they reached out to me today. She had an emergency come up.
Here to discuss it, so.
Could we
Unless, are you here to I don't know if they're here to discuss the request.
Adam, they reached out to me today. She had an emergency come up and asked that, could we defer this conversation until next month, that she wasn't going to be able to make it. Actually, her friend reached out and said that she was calling for her because she had an emergency come up that she couldn't make it tonight, and she was asking if we could keep this home for next meeting.
All right. The lady I talked to, I think she would do an incredible high-quality proposal, our discussion. I just told her I just didn't know how we would feel about that, allowing the commercial stables and event center there. You all did get an email from a resident, that was against it. Really more about the event center and the possibility, the size of it. So if you all want to open up for comments, since
While he's coming forward, can I ask one question? I mean, Mayor and Adam, is it the current owners that's wanting to do this?
No, this is someone looking to purchase the property.
Okay, I was just curious, because...
Well, thank you, guys. I'm Jim Hitt. I am a neighbor right to the west of the reference property. Y'all look a little intimidating. I wonder if I looked that way when I was on the other side. But I don't have anything to add to what I sent you guys. I just don't think this is a good idea for this piece of property, and I really don't have anything to add. I suppose each one of you got a copy of my letter, did you not? And I put all my reasons in that letter, and I really don't have anything to add to it. So I'll just say I appreciate you guys listening to me. Thank you.
I mean, are you all open to bring it up next month, or? Okay. There's no motion. It's just disgusting. Yeah. Sean's here. The comprehensive plan, we're keeping that on track. I did talk to Tim. The goal was to have our joint study session with the City Commission and Planning Commission on October 30th, if y'all can make it. The goal is to kind of have, Sean's going to hit on this in a second, but we really need, I guess, some thoughts on it. We're at the last stage now to finishing this plan up. If you remember, we did a draft plan, had a review a couple weeks ago, and Sean did a great survey. It's been trying to always get people's inputs along this whole process. So we're going to go over the results of the survey. So I'll turn it over to Sean. Thank you.
All right, we'll try and be quick. We know it's been a long night. So if you might recall, at the start of the updated comprehensive plan, we had an initial survey that got 900 responses, great turnout. This second survey dealt more with kind of the draft comp plan and what we had compiled. We weren't able to get as many respondents on this, but the one positive, I think, is that we did reach some folks that we didn't reach with the initial survey and that hadn't participated in the process yet. So kind of going through of those respondents that took the survey, kind of a heavy on the older residents. About more than half had lived in Goodlettsville for more than 20 years, and about half were above 60 years old and above. And so just kind of know as we go through these results, we're a little bit heavily represented on the older residents, not so much on the younger residents. And we asked this time not only what area of the city they lived in, but also their home address. So we actually have kind of a clustering of respondents and where they were located. A little bit heavy on the eastern side of the city limits, with about nearly 3/4 of the respondents kind of on the east side of I-65. And we even had about half a dozen respondents that were outside the city limits, so we might need to discount their responses. In terms of familiarity, this is what I mentioned, of about half were very familiar or somewhat familiar with the comp plan update. Nearly half had taken the initial survey, but we did have 40% that had not yet been involved to date. And so that was kind of the idea with, I know we had these joint sessions and were able to reach a number of people, but given that participation was not that high, we wanted another way to to reach folks and allow them to participate. So we had a number of policy priorities that we asked people about, asking their support level with kind of these 4 policy priorities that span transportation, utilities, environmental constraints, and city services. And we did receive a high level of support. Nearly 95% of respondents agreed or strongly agreed with these policy statements. So I think we're on the right track with those. When it came to the land use districts, we had a dozen land use districts identified, spanning residential, commercial, industrial areas. And so with that, kind of starting at the top, over 90% support for residential neighborhood preservation district, as well as the public and parks district, with a lot of our city facilities and parks. Still a lot of support, over 70% for kind of as you go down from commercial, residential, rural, the regional center where the mall area redevelopment is. And then I think as you get a little bit further down, then you start to see where there's kind of the purple segment. So there's some less overall support. But then you get to see some respondents indicated where they were not sure about some of those districts in purple. So kind of like 2/3 of the way down, that segment actually grew to 15-20% for a number of the districts. And I think when you finally get down to the bottom is where kind of the biggest division was when you got to the residential neighborhood extension. This probably makes a lot of sense given tonight's discussion, but where are those neighborhoods that we're going to expand new developments, new residential developments in? And so 48%, still some agreement for those, but 38% that did not agree, and then another 14% not sure. So another thing that we asked about these districts is not only kind of the profile of these districts, but also they had a size or geography within the city. And so did we say that does the size look about right, or should it be larger, should it be smaller? And that's where a lot of support for the top, a lot of support of, it looks right, as you can see in the orange. Kind of those top 2 are above 80%, and then a number of them below that are, above 2/3, indicating that it looks about right. I think as you get a little bit further down, you see some in the blue that start to get a little bit larger, where people are thinking that they would like that about 20% smaller. Then you see the green where people are indicating, would like to see that larger, anywhere from 25% to 45%. I think for some of these, as Adam and I had discussed, making the neighborhood preservation district is already pretty encompassing of a lot of the existing neighborhoods. And so kind of the feasibility of that being larger. I think the residential walkable core is another one that will be a good one to revisit at the October 30th joint session. And then as you get to the bottom, the residential neighborhood extension, kind of the strong interest in seeing that portion smaller. So then the last question that we asked about was kind of implementation priorities. In looking at these, there was strong support for the top 3, implementing traffic flow improvement projects, investing in repairs and upgrades to city facilities, completing storm water maintenance projects, kind of above 90% support for those top 3, and then still strong support as you get down to expanding beautification efforts. And then kind of the last 2, you begin to see some opposition to extending sewer service to underserved areas and pursuing grant funding for alternative transportation projects. And then I think that I may have cut off the legend is why you're not seeing purple portion being the not sure element there. Then we did one kind of open-ended comment of, one thing that you like about the plan and one, suggested improvement for the plan. So for the likes, I think we got, some repetition of, preserving the existing neighborhoods in rural areas, reinvesting in Main Street, Rivergate Mall area. We did see people write in this section about appreciation for the engagement level and the ability to communicate and be aware of updates throughout the process, and then a strong interest in expanding park areas throughout the city. On the suggested improvements side, kind of an emphasis on limiting new development, but I think kind of like that being juxtaposed with the support for construction of more starter homes within the city, and then kind of a lot of focus on the traffic congestion and aspects of that, from improving access to parks through sidewalks and greenways, and or expanding transit options. So that's all on the survey results. As Adam mentioned, we're still moving through the timeline. September was kind of dedicated to this online survey so that we could get some more feedback from folks, and then next up being the study session at the end of the month to dive into a little bit more detail, and within that we kind of have a draft tentative agenda of not only recap and summarizing these results, which will be repetition for some of you, but then a discussion of kind of potential modifications to the land use districts, and kind of the ones that we've highlighted here, or where some of the feedbacks come in along the way, whether walkable core, the commercial corridor, residential neighborhood extension, and then the residential rural district, which are a lot of the new districts that were identified as part of this process, and your take on those.
A lot of those based on the draft plan we completed. We had people at the meeting speak about some of the commercial areas look to expand, maybe not expanding those, and then the comments you've had about the residential extension. So those are going to be our big kind of answer or questions, so we can complete it. The goal is at the December Planning Commission, by state law, you got to do a 30-day public notice on comprehensive plan. So I'm advertising it like this week, sending it out for the December meeting. So your all's comments at the October 30th will be what we kind of finalize and get it going, the plan. That meeting will be at 6 o'clock here with the city commissioners. So, you got anything else, John?
That's it.
It's real cool seeing these surveys. I think it's a good way for people to be able to comment. The first one was more general. The survey, we had several hundred, and this one, like we talked about today, it took a lot of thought because it was very detailed. Some concepts that, if you're not familiar with it, kind of get comfortable with it. So Channel 2 helped us a lot. They did 2 stories, both leading into both, and we saw our numbers actually go up after those stories, so we're appreciative. So.